Hello everyone. In today's video, we'll discuss about the last algorithm, that is algorithm 4 in the chapter hydrothermal scheduling. The algorithm is discrete time interval method. So this is actually a general algorithm for hydrothermal scheduling. You can see here the name itself suggests it is a discrete time interval method. So the entire time period will be splitted into different time intervals, that is discretized. So we have to see what is this discretization also in the algorithm. So let us continue. So in the previous algorithm we have seen the system which is consisting a hydro plant and a thermal plant. So the same system, let me write here. So we have a thermal plant which can be given by this, and we have a hydro plant. The very important constraint for this is, that is hydro plant, is the water discharge. So which is represented by Q. We have taken Q as water discharge in the previous algorithm also. And for thermal power plant it is F. F is nothing but cost function. So and also both the plants have to supply the demand, which is nothing but PL, or you can also write PD. Remember student, this is not loss, this is not power loss, this is a PL is nothing but load. So loss is given by P loss in the algorithm. PL tells you that it is nothing but PD, that is power demand. And we have power coming in here, this is nothing but PGT, and the power coming from here is nothing but PGH, which is nothing but generated hydropower, generated thermal power. So this is a system which we have to consider to see the algorithm 4. So let me divide this entire explanation for a few steps. So the first step is nothing but we have to write the mathematical formulation. So we have to write the mathematical equation or mathematical formulation of objective function. And the second thing what we have to write is operational constraints. So first thing is objective function, second one is operational constraint. So third is nothing but discretization, and fourth is nothing but we have to see what are the dependent variables here. Then we have to write the Lagrangian function. And the previous algorithm also we have done the same thing, but let me write here stepwise. So first thing is we have to write the objective function. Second one is operational constraints, what are the constraints on this system we have to see. And third one is how to carry out a discretization, and we have to, before writing the Lagrangian function, we have to see what are the dependent variables. Then finally we write Lagrangian function, and also ultimately we write last one simple algorithm for the system using discrete time interval method. So let us continue. So the first one what we have to see is mathematical formulation of objective function. So let me write one by one. So first one is mathematical formulation. So let us form the objective function. So let us consider the total time period as T max. Time period for operation as T max. So this you have to remember. So we are considering the time period for the operation as a T max. So we also write what are the assumptions to make. So we can take So we can make few assumptions. So what are the assumptions? So what are the assumptions we have to make here to write the objective function? So there are three assumptions. So first one is storage of reservoir is specified. When we know the storage of reservoir at the beginning of the period and also at the beginning of the period and at the end. So we know the reservoir storage level at the beginning of the period and at the end, and we have also taken the time period as Tmax. So the beginning of Tmax and at the end of Tmax we know the storage of reservoir. And the second assumption what we have to take is water inflow is known. So what is the water inflow? That has to be known. So that is known, that is the assumption. And the third assumption what we have to make is load demand is known. Load demand is nothing but PD. So load demand is known for the entire Tmax period. So for the entire Tmax period, PD is known. These are the assumptions we have to make. So remember, so we have taken Tmax as the time period and these are the assumption. Storage of reservoir is known for at the beginning and at the end of the time period. Water inflow is known for the entire time period and load demand is known for the entire time period. Now let us write the objective function, and we know that the main objective function is based on to minimize the cost of the thermal plant by considering the hydro and thermal constraints. So let me write, since it is discretization, so first let me write minimize Ft is equal to 0 to Tmax. Later we'll discretize it. So first let us write in an integral format. So 0 to Tmax. So F Pgt dt. So this, let me take it as objective function. So we have to minimize the cost of what? Cost of thermal power plant, and thermal power plant and hydro are working from 0 to Tmax period. So it is the entire interval. So for the entire interval, this F is given as function of Pgt. So it is function of Pgt with respect to dt. So this is the objective function. So the second one in the algorithm procedure is, now we have to see what are the operational constraints. So we have written the objective function. So second one what I am going to write is the constraint. So let us write operational constraints. So first thing is, let me write as usual the power balance equation. So constraint of power balance equation. So how to write power balance at any time of interval t, at any time t, so let me write Pgt plus Pgh minus P loss minus PD is equal to 0. So this is a power balance equation we have seen before also. You can also write Pgt plus Pgh is equal to P loss plus Pdt. Since we have taken that time, any time, at any time, so I have taken this as time dependent function. So Pgt at t, Pgh at t, P loss at t, Pd at t. So this is a power balance equation. So you can also write where P belongs to the interval 0 to Tmax. The second constraint what we are writing is on water availability. So second constraint is constraint on water availability. So till now we used to write constraint on hydrothermal power plant only based on the water discharge. So since here we have assumed that the water level at the beginning of the time period and at the end of the time period is known, so we have to consider the level of water also while writing the water availability. So let me write where St max is storage at the end of time period and which can be given by meter cube. Since it is volume of water, so we have to write in terms of meter cube. And S0 is what? S0 is storage at the beginning of time period. So it is in also meter cube. Now this is the constraint on water availability by considering this. So St max minus S0 gives you the water available in the reservoir. So this is water inflow and this is water discharge. And the third constraint what we can write is, so constraint on hydropower generated. So constraint on hydropower generated. So since here the reservoir water reservoir storage also has to be considered, the PGH can be written as function of both, that is S of t and the discharge, that is Q of t, Q naught of t. So let me take this as equation 4 and this as equation 3. And power balance equation as a 2 and the first one objective function as equation 1. So these are the constraints. So third one, so this is about constraint. In constraint we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 3, and third step, second step what we have written is operational constraints, and third step what is required for this algorithm is discretization. So we'll see what is the discretization. This is actually the very important step in this algorithm. So what we are going to do is, we are going to divide the total time period T max into n subintervals, each of time delta t. So let me write. So what we are going to do is, the entire time period T max is divided into n subintervals. So if this is T max, this is divided into different time intervals. So this is the nth time interval, this is first, second, third and so on, and each time interval is for delta t. Delta t, this is their same. Now all the constraints and also the objective function we have to discretize. Now we know the previously we have written all the constraints and all the objective function only for the entire time period. Now we have to discretize, since we have taken the entire time period as divided into n subintervals. So let us write the discretization. So what we have to write, so we had taken integral form previously, but since it is now discretized, let me write it as summation. So first one is for objective function. So the objective function can be written as now minimize summation k is equal to 1 to n f of pgt. And I am writing k. So what is k now? K is the interval number. So after discretization I have used summation symbol, before it was integral symbol because we were using from 0 to t max. Now it has been discretized, so the objective function can be written like this, since the intervals are divided into 1 to n. So this, let me take it as fifth one. Now let us discretize the constraints. So first constraint what we have written as power balance equation. So let me write in a discretized format. So this is after discretization. the power balance equation. So where P loss is given by, you know the P loss equation, but in a discretized format it is BTT PGT K square plus 2BTH PGTK BGHK plus BHH PGHK square. So this is the power loss equation. So since we are discretizing it, I am taking here K. So you know where BTT, BTH and BHH are loss coefficients. And third second constraint will write. So second constraint is nothing but we have written in a form of water storage in the reservoir, and also the water inflow and water outflow. So let me write. See, we had taken here, so let me show that. So we had taken here ST max. So T max will be the end of the time interval or the time period. But if I am taking for a particular interval, that is kth interval, at the end it is K. So what will be the beginning of the time interval? So it will be K minus 1. At the end of time interval, so this is at the beginning. Okay, so this is at the end, this is at the beginning. So both gives us water storage in the reservoir. Now this is the water inflow in the kth interval. This tells you the water outflow in the kth interval. So now we have to do some arrangement. So what I'll do is, let me divide, see, throughout the equation by delta t. I have here delta t term, so I don't want that. So let me divide it by that. So divide. So what is this equation? This equation, let me take it as okay, later we can do. So divide this equation by delta t. So what we'll be getting? So 0. This is what we are getting. So now this let me write it in some other format. So what I'll take is, let me take it as sk star, s star k, s star k minus s star k minus 1 minus q in k plus q out k is equal to 0, where what is s star k? What is s star k minus 1? It is nothing but sk minus 1 divided by delta t. Now what is the unit? See, we know that unit of S is meter cube, that is a water volume. So what is unit of S star? Unit of S star. So unit of S star is, now you can see here, it is meter cube divided by time, that is meter cube per second. Meter cube per second. So remember this, or you can write it in meter cube per hour also. So we have discretized this. There is one more constraint which we have seen previously. So constraint on hydropower generated. So we'll write the discretization form of that. Hydropower generated is given by, so discretization of third constraint is given by the hydropower generated is given by, in a discretization format, as PGHK is equal to, here I have written just where it is, yeah, constraint on hydropower generated as, we know that the hydropower generated as function of water volume in the reservoir or water storage in the reservoir and the water discharge. So let me write the equation, actual equation for this. Here it is said only it as a function. So the actual equation will be, it is 9.81 10 to the power minus 3 HAVK Q naught K minus rho megawatt. So let me tell you what are these factors here. So HAV K is average head in the kth interval. And this can be given by H naught 1 plus 0.5 E S star K plus S star K minus 1. So this is the actual equation after discretization for the hydropower generated. 9.81 into 10 to the power minus 3 H average in the kth interval, Q naught in the kth interval and rho. So this is H average, average head in kth interval. Head is nothing but the level of water in the reservoir. So where Q naught is water discharge, and what is rho? Rho is here non-effective discharge. So non-effective discharge. So actually non-effective discharge is nothing but it's a water discharge needed to run hydro generator at no load. So what is this non-effective discharge? So this is a, okay, so I hope this is clear. So Q naught is water discharge, rho is non-effective discharge. So what is non-effective discharge? Non-effective discharge is water discharge needed to run the hydro generator at no load, remember. So what does this term gives us? So from the equation, Q naught K minus rho gives us effective discharge. So rho is needed when it is at no load, but under load condition, whatever is this term gives us effective discharge. So the unit is meter cube per second. H naught is nothing but water head. Normally water head is in meter. So water head corresponding to dead storage. So we have considered as H average. H average is nothing but average head in the kth interval. Okay, that is fine. Now what is H0? H0, see, I have not included this term in the equation. Later we'll do that. Before that, we'll understand what is H0. H0 is nothing but water head corresponding to dead storage. Now what is dead storage? Dead storage is nothing but water volume or volume of water which is below the level of the spillway or outer outlet. So if the water volume is below the outer outlet level, then that head is known as dead storage or the water head corresponding to dead storage. Okay. So we'll take one more term which is nothing but E, which is head correction factor, which can be given by delta T and AH0. Okay, and H0 is known, delta T is that time interval length. Okay, and what is rho? Rho is dead storage. And also we have seen it is nothing but inactive, non-effective discharge. What is A? A is nothing but area of cross section of reservoir. Area of cross section of reservoir. So let us substitute these in the equation. So we have Pg, so let me simplify this further. So Pghk can be written as, now let me write this term as H star. So H naught star, so H naught star, where H star, H naught star is nothing but 9.81 into 10 to the power minus 3 H naught. Sorry, this is plus, everywhere it is plus, because in the equation itself it is plus. Okay, fine. So H naught into 1 plus 0.5 E S star k plus S star k minus 1. This is the equation for H average, which is nothing but average head. So this will substitute here. So this is for discretization of hydropower generated. So what is next step? So next step is, we have to see, before writing the Lagrangian function, we have to see what are the dependent variables. So let us write what are the dependent variables now. So we have written so many steps. So first step is the objective function, then we have written operational constraints, and third one what we have done is discretization of all these. There is objective, constraints, all we have discretized, and next we have to identify the dependent variables, then we have to write the Lagrangian function. So let me take this as equation 7. So now from this equation, from equation 7, for sum of all values from k is equal to 1 to n. So let me write, since it is for the end of the interval, let me write it as n minus star 0, that is beginning of the interval, and for q in and q naught, I have to use that summation symbol again here, because I am writing the sum, plus k is equal to k summation k is equal to 1 to n q out. So from this what we can see is, so we have only n minus 1 independent values of q naught. So we have n minus 1 independent values of q naught are specified. So we can take, so from this we can see that only n minus 1 independent values of q naught can be written. So out of n minus 1, if you take only 1, that is one value of q naught becomes a dependent variable. So if I take, let us specify q naught 2, q naught 3, so on till q naught n as independent variables. If I take these as independent variables, so what is a dependent variable? If this is just an assumption, if I take these as independent variable, so q naught 1 becomes dependent variable. So from this equation, let me simplify that and write equation for q naught 1. So if I split this, from this equation I have S star n minus S star 0 minus summation k is equal to 1 to n q in k, plus I'll take q naught 1 outside. So what we have is q naught 1 plus summation k is equal to 2 to n q naught k, okay, remaining k, sorry, Q naught K, Q naught K. So I have taken Q naught 1 outside, so let us, this is equal to 0. So let us write equation for this. So Q naught 1 is equal to, Q naught 1 is equal to, all the terms you take it to other side. So what you have is S star 0 minus S star n plus summation K is equal to 1 to n Q in K minus this, that is summation K is equal to 2 to n Q naught K. So this we have written. So here we have not worried about Qn because PGH, that is hydropower generated, is not the function of Qin, it is function of only the reservoir storage and Q naught. So we are not worried about this. So we have to see what are the independent variable or dependent variables here. Okay. Now along with this we have some other dependent variables also. So we can write the other dependent variable, the other. So this is not always Q naught 1, it depends on which are the water discharge values known. So we have taken 2, 3, 4 till nth interval water discharges are known. So I can take these as independent variable. So 1 will be the dependent variable, this is S. If I take suppose this as a dependent variable, including this, the remaining will be independent variable. Okay. So the other dependent variables are, we have a PGTK, and obviously PGHK and S star K, that is reservoir. So this is anyways dependent. This depends on this and the water discharge, and this is also dependent. Okay. Yeah. Next, based on all these, we'll write Lagrangian function. So fifth step is we have to write a Lagrangian function. So we know how to formulate the Lagrangian function. So we have to augment the objective function with the constraints. So let me take Lagrangian function symbol is equal to, now the objective function what we have is, so we have written the Lagrangian function. So this is the objective function, these are the constraints with the multipliers. Okay. Now in order to find the optimal scheduling, what we have to do? So in order to find the optimal scheduling, we know that we have to differentiate the equation with respect to the dependent variables, and also we have to equate it to 0. So first let me differentiate it with respect to PGT. So differentiation of this with respect to PGT. So this becomes differentiation of f of PGTK with respect to PGTK plus, so we don't have any terms which are dependent on PGT. So this differentiation will become 0, only this term. So lambda 1K differentiation of this with respect to PGT is 0, but P loss can be differentiated. So but it is partial derivative because it also depends on PGH. So rho PGT K, and we have PGT here. So differentiation of that minus 1 is equal to 0. So equated to 0. Similarly, let us differentiate this with respect to PGH. So PGH with respect to K. So first term anyways it is not dependent on, that is objective function term is not dependent on PGH. So we can neglect that. This second term, so we have lambda 1K, PD is not dependent, P loss is dependent. So P loss K with respect to PGHK minus 1 due to this term PGH plus here last term, anyways this is not dependent on PGH. So here So PGH, there is one term over here. So lambda 3k into 1 is equal to 0. Done. So this one, next one, so it is based on, so partial derivative of this with respect to x star k, dependent variable s star k. See, we have s is not equal to 0, s is not equal to n. So remember that s is not equal to 0, k is not equal to 0 and k is not equal to n here, because if k is equal to 0, the value of that storage is known. So when you are known as nothing but a constant term, so when you know the value and you can't differentiate it, so at n also it is known, because in the assumption we have taken at the end of the interval and at the beginning of the interval the water reservoir storage is known, so we can't differentiate. Except that everything can be differentiated. So here when we differentiate with respect to s star k, so when we differentiate the same Lagrangian equation with the s star k, and we get this, that is from here, from the Lagrangian equation you can see when you differentiate it with s star k, so only this term we do this and this, because we don't have any s star term over here, so we have to differentiate these two. So we'll be getting lambda 2k into 1 is for this differentiation of this with respect to this 1, and all other terms are 0, so into 1 minus lambda 2k plus 1. When you differentiate this with respect to s star k, you will be getting lambda 2k plus 1, k plus 1, and it is for these terms it is 0. So we have lambda 2 k plus 1 into 1, okay, plus lambda 3k differentiation of this with respect to s star k. So we have only this minus h naught star, this is anyway 0, differentiation of this is 0.5 e, and differentiation of this is 1 into this. Similarly, the last same term with respect to s star k minus 1. So it is lambda 3k plus 1 and the differentiation of the remaining terms. Okay. So this is what we are getting after differentiation. So let me write this the simplified version. Show partial derivative of this with respect to s star k, where k is not equal to 0, k is not equal to n, gives. Okay. So we have differentiated all the terms and we have to equate it to 0. Okay. So now we have seen this. So along with all these, we also need partial derivative of this q naught 1, because we have considered q naught 1 as a dependent variable. So we have to calculate this also. So we have from previous equations, where can I, so we have to calculate this. So we have s star k minus s star k minus 1 minus q in k plus q naught k is equal to 0. We had this equation, we have seen this equation. So from equation 7 we have this. So I can write s star k is equal to s star k minus 1 plus q. I am just shifting all the other terms to the other side, minus q naught k. Now you put k as 1. So what you are getting k as 1 because we need this calculation. So you just put k as 1. S star 1 is equal to S star 1 minus 1, that is 0, plus Q in 1 minus Q naught 1. So this is what we are getting. Now Lagrangian function, we have equation, right? So you consider this equation, Lagrangian function equation, with all k values as 1. So from Lagrangian function, so we have now, so substituting for S star 1 and differentiating with respect to Q naught 1. So I am not doing in detail here the substitution and the differentiation. So you will get partial derivative of this with respect to Q naught 1 is equal to lambda 2 1 minus lambda 3 1 minus H naught star into 1 plus 0.5 E 2S star 0 plus Q in 1 minus 2 Q naught 1 plus rho is equal to 0. So this is what we are getting. And also along with all these parameters, what we need is a equation called gradient vector. Also equation called gradient vector is needed. Gradient vector is needed. To calculate that, what we need is gradient vector is a what is gradient vector? So gradient vector is variable. So independent variables are Q naught 2, Q naught 3, all those things we have taken, where k is not equal to 1. Q naught 1 we have taken it as dependent variable, Q naught 2 till Q naught n we have taken it as independent variable. So the differentiation of Lagrangian function with all other independent variables gives us what? Gradient vector, and which is in this case. So independent variables in this case are Q naught k, where k is not equal to 1, that is like Q naught 2, Q naught 3, all these till Q naught n, these are independent variable. So let us write the partial derivative of this with the Q naught k, where k is not equal to 1. So this gives, so the optimal solution is reached. So the optimal solution is reached when when gradient vector is less than or equal to some value. The optimal solution is reached when the magnitude of gradient vector is less than or equal to epsilon 1. So epsilon 1 value will be given. So if it is, or it is known, or some tolerance value. So if the gradient vector value, the value of this is less than or equal to epsilon 1, then optimal solution is reached. That is nothing but using all these equations we can calculate PGH, PGT such that this condition should be satisfied. So let me quickly write the algorithm for this. So algorithm are the different steps in the algorithm. So it is simple, but the thing is we have to write all the equations to complete the algorithm. So assuming, first step is assuming Q naught k and then calculating these dependent variables, then obtaining the Lagrangian multipliers, then obtaining the gradient vector. Then after that, if the gradient vector is less than or equal to this epsilon value, which is a tolerance, you can stop. If it is not, then you can calculate new value of Q naught k, which can be given by this equation. So that's it. So this is algorithm 4 or hydrothermal scheduling using discrete time interval method. I hope it is clear, but it is bit lengthy and bit tricky also. So try to study this. If at all you have any questions or if you have any doubts, you can just put it in the comment box. I'll try to explain that. And do subscribe my channel, like my videos and share it to your friends and friends group for my latest updates. Also click on the bell icon.